I'm Mark with PAWS, Capital Region 350.org, Citizen Action, and other organizations. Every fossil fuel project, pipelines, bomb trains, fracking, tar sands, coal mining, mountaintop removal, offshore drilling combines threats to local health and safety with threats to the global climate. Fossil fuels powered industrialization, which enabled millions of people to rise out of poverty, but it's destabilizing the climate and it's unsustainable and we don't need it. Renewable energy is ready. Solar and wind energy are now the fastest growing forms of new electric generation. Electricity is the most flexible form of energy. It can be used for all other purposes. And when you consider that there's no fuel cost, the energy comes free from the sun. It's actually now more cost effective than many forms of conventional energy, in particular nuclear power. The Public Service Commission is considering a proposal to give $7.6 billion to the nuclear industry to bail it out over 10 years, paid for by the customers. That energy should be going to clean, renewable energy. That money and more. The other thing about renewable energy, studies by Professor Polin, Professor Ackerman, and others have shown that investments in renewable energy actually create more jobs. They're all domestic jobs because the energy is right here, than comparable investments in fossil fuels by a factor of 2 or 3 and sometimes more. So there's a new coalition, New York Renews, which includes not only environmentalists, but also major labor unions, auto workers, teamsters, teachers, nurses, service employees, and community organizations, environmental justice groups, people of color groups like Push Buffalo, New York City Environmental Justice Alliance. Groups from around the state have formed a coalition to promote a rapid transition to 100% renewable energy for New York State, with a strong commitment to good jobs, especially for the communities that are hardest hit. One of the things we know about these fossil fuel projects, the hardest impacts, both from the local pollution and from the climate disruption, fall on low-income communities, communities of color, Native Americans, Lower Ninth Ward in New Orleans, the South End here in Albany, and around the world, East Africa, Bangladesh. The people who contribute least to fossil fuel emissions are hit the hardest, both by the local pollution and by the climate disruption, which we see in the form of droughts in places like California and Syria, which helped trigger the civil war, and more water evaporating from prime prices coming down excessively. We had an all-time record rainfall in New York on Long Island a year or two ago, and increasing super hurricanes and superstorms. The projection for business as usual scenario is that the entire southwest United States is liable to become a permanent dust bowl, while superstorms like Sandy by late this century are liable to hit the New York metro area as frequently as annually by the end of this century, and at least twice as often as currently by mid-century. Other projections for Africa indicate that by mid-century, 60 million people could be threatened with famine, and 300 million people could become climate refugees. So we're in a race against time. We're not going to get anything constructive out of the Trump administration. So we've got to redouble our efforts on the state and local level. And we've got to fight all these destructive, money-driven fossil fuel projects. So we have to leave the oil under the soil, leave the oil. Leave the oil.
Under the soil.
Leave the coal in the hole.
Leave the coal in the hole.
Leave the
coal
gas.
in the hole.
Leave the gas under the grass. Leave the gas under the grass. And clean renewable energy now. Clean renewable energy now. Thank you.